Hey guys, man, this game's pretty sometimes, isn't it? Let's talk about a madness build. When it comes to a madness build, Vike's War Spear is the weapon. It causes madness buildup and has a wonderful ability that does high damage, leaves behind a high damage AoE, and also builds up madness. It's really, really nice. All heavy spears are nice to begin with the Poka Poka Poka. Enemies have a hard time dealing with the Poka Poka Poka. You move forward while you're attacking. It's got a sweeping R2. And one of my favorite, backstep into charge forward. It's a very straightforward spear until you get into its weapon move, which is hone in on the enemy, cross some good distance. It hits super hard. It breaks poise really easily, I've found, and it leaves behind a really nasty damage over time effect as well. It's a super good weapon and the premier choice in a madness build because it builds up madness. We're using the Frenzy Flame Seal. It boosts madness based abilities. Fire Monk for fashion, why not? Erdtree Seal for a little bit more equip load and HP, and then we're boosting our attack skills, we're boosting our incantations, and we're greatly raising our focus. This is important, I think, to use the Clarifying Horn Charm, because when you play with madness, you yourself may go insane. And when this says it greatly raises focus, it is not kidding. So without this thing, I'm at 219 focus, which is my ability to resist madness, among other things. And with this, I'm at 359 focus. And you can see when I equip it, it's almost half of my bar. The reason it's going down in madness right now is because I've changed my cap, which doesn't happen instantly. It happens gradually over time. See, that gives you a visual representation of just how much madness this charm can help prevent, which is a lot. And if you're spamming madness abilities and you don't want to go crazy yourself, it's a no crazy brainer. So when it comes to evaluating the spells themselves, the incantations, I guess, it's not spells. When it comes to evaluating the incantations, these are the madness incantations. There's Flame of Frenzy, Unendurable Frenzy, Frenzied Burst, Howl of Shabriri, and Inescapable Frenzy. So in a quick evaluation of these, and at least these are okay. They're not. It's not like if you watched my video on death magic and death and Godslayer incantations, how much I think those are terrible. These aren't bad. So your bread and butter is Flame of Frenzy. Does a pretty decent amount of damage, can be charged. It's a little bit spazzy in where it wants to hit, but it's still pretty effective. Yeah, I mean, wow, that's not bad. That's not bad. Killed him. So that I really like. Unendurable Frenzy is even more spazzier. It's a way to dump your entire mana bar. It goes everywhere, but it's not very effective. I'm gonna take this one off. I don't think it deserves a slot. And here's that one in action. So it's an even wider AoE, even less targeted, and you can spend your whole mana bar just going crazy. It's not good. You're much better off spamming the cheaper one that's more targeted in pretty much every situation. And if you really have to AoE, you might as well use the Vike's War Spear ability instead of that spell. So that's coming off the bar. Frenzied Burst, I like this one. It's a targeted frenzy spell, unlike most of them, and it hurts. Boom, charge it, bam. It's yeah, that's good. It hones on the target well. It does a decent amount of damage. Doesn't cost too much FP. Doesn't build up too much madness in yourself. So that stays. Then we have Howl of Shabriri. I'm not a huge fan of this. It builds up madness really fast. That's half of my bar, even with the charm. It appears to have applied some sort of a buff or debuff to me, which is surprising. What is this on my bar right now? Oh, it looks like I have both of the negative talisman effects. Huh, I never noticed that the first time. Based on the buff icons, it looks like that gives you both of these. Shibari's Woe, which attracts enemy aggression, and the other Woe, which increases damage taken. So that makes that even worse than I thought. I already thought it wasn't great, but we certainly don't want to increase damage taken. So let's take one more look at those icons. Yep, 100%. Those are the icons. You're increasing enemy aggression and increasing your damage taken. Let's never use that. Why? Why is that in the game? That's pretty interesting. I learned something new about that. I thought it was bad to begin with. Now I think it's outright unusable. Inescapable Frenzy, super bad. It's a grab. You try to grab somebody. It doesn't work on most PvE enemies. It would be kind of funny, I guess, to pull that off in PvP against an opponent, but like I have to I have to charge a point blank grab. Let's be real. It's not very reasonable or realistic. So basically, if we were to take off the bad incantations, I don't think that deserves a slot. I don't think that that or that just deserves a slot. So we're down to two, and we could add some non-thematic incantations as well. I mean, we have, you could easily mix this in with some fire spells that you think are cool, even though they don't cause madness buildup. But in sticking with the theme, we're just going to stay with what causes madness buildup. And then we could always put on, I believe, is there... Alleviates death blights. Is there no way to alleviate madness with an incantation? I thought there was. That's poison. I was thinking maybe we could cleanse ourselves of madness. But the thing is, as long as we're... It doesn't look like we can. As long as we're using the charm, I'm telling you, this clarifying horn charm goes a long way. So it may seem okay. Well, now we're down to just two frenzy spells. You know what? That's plenty with this weapon art because the weapon art is so good, and it's especially hilarious. If you fire up a mimic tier, which I believe I can do in this area. Let's get a little bit further in. There we go. Fire up a mimic tier that's also using these madness abilities with Vike's ability, which is really the creme de la creme. Like we'll show you that in action right now. Like really, the spear's ability is where it's at. I don't hate having these as a couple long range options either, but get a mimic. So every one of those stats is building up madness, and then when this ability, just some smokes dude. Leaves behind me. Yeah, see, this is I love this. This is so funny with madness mimic. So even with the charm, 2 casts and well, 3 casts, I suppose, since I started with the spell, but our madness buildup is growing, so you need to be careful with that. But although this build I think is quite usable in PvE, it's soul crushing in PvP. It is extremely hard to deal with the spear's ability and also having some more long range madness options. And when madness builds up in PvP, it's a significant problem for the person that you're fighting. It'll stun them, and they take a burst of damage similar to a bleed. It's really, really gross. Missed him, but still getting that damage over time effect. Oh, mana. Well, mana consumption-wise, I think our FP breakpoint is fine. We're not running out of mana, especially fast, and yeah, especially with the nasty mimic this creates, pretty good in PvE and PvP. And I think boosting our attack power as well as our incantations, and then making it so that we don't go crazy as fast, is the way to go. And I do think, even though there's only what I would consider 2 good frenzied spells, that it's worth keeping them on the bar and using a focus. And that's about it. That's my take. I don't know if did I review the total stat line here. 50 vigor, 30 mind, 40 endurance, 16 strength with 33 faith, and then the 33 faith is just to meet some of our incantation requirements, so we could use any of the madness with that. And then mostly into dex because this weapon scales better with dex than anything else. So that's kind of the take on the frenzy build. I think it's pretty legit. It's viable in PvE. I mean, these are tough enemies. New game plus, we're in one of the final areas. It's getting work done. And in PvP, it's a terror. It's an absolute terror. This move is gonna leave behind such dangerous AOE, and it's the second you build up madness on your opponent, the duel is probably over. It's so crushing, debilitating the status. So yeah, that's about it. That's my take on madness build. Just let me know if you have something cool relating to madness that I haven't figured out yet. But yeah, that's the take. Definitely better than the state of death magic. Let's say that. I would put this under viable and even strong, especially in PvP. Strong. Thanks.